afternoon. Everybody ready? Let's go. We have a tight program. So I want to welcome you to Rewire at unDavos. I'm Stefan Balzer. I will guide you through this afternoon in the best way I can. And I think we have, I would say it's a mission critical topic for an industry, I would say. Because AI, as we know, is all over the place, also here in Davos, as you've seen. Still, it's about the adoption in companies, right? It's like, where are we when it comes to an AI-ready company? And also, what does it actually mean to implement AI into an organization, from operation, from HR, from strategy? So we have an incredible list of people that join us today, and they will share their experience, where they are right now, what cases they want to share here in front of us. And we want to explore what it means to become an AI native organization, right? Is that even worth aiming for? Or is it maybe just another great idea that, comes along the tech curve for the last 30 years? So let's see. And we start off with an expert, and I hope the microphone, maybe you can correct a little bit, who will open up this space a little bit wider. His name is Alvin Graylin, and Alvin is a strategist. He is the author of the book, Our Next Reality, and he's the chairman of the Virtual World Society. And he's been in the industry for more than 35 years, although he doesn't look like. Yes, much younger. So he's involved in semiconductors, XR, cybersecurity. And he had leadership roles at HTC, Intel, IBM. And he will give us a little insight on his current work that he's doing. So please put your hands together, and I need your positive energy right now with a strong applause for Alvin.
Thank you, Stefan. There's a few seats in the front. I would recommend you coming up because there's a lot of charts and data in this talk, and I think you'll want to see them because there's some useful information. So just come up if you see an open spot. And I have been studying AI and working on AI and building companies in this space for 35 years, so I can speak with a little bit of experience. And the reason originally I was going to call this preparing for our next reality, but now I think we should call it bracing, because we are heading into some very tumultuous times. I'm going to speak very quickly because I have a lot of slides and a very short amount of time here. A lot of people think that we're going to have a utopia. That's kind of one of the views that people have about what AI is going to bring us. There's also the folks who say we're going to go into this dystopian, dark path, and we're going to stay there, right? And AI is going to kill us. The reality is actually we are right now not on a fork between these two things. We're actually on a ledge on a top of a mountain. On the one side, we have, amazing green pasture. On the other side is, danger and darkness. And what we are doing in the next few years is walking this path, walking this ledge. And it takes just a little bit of push for us to go down one side or the other. And the good news is, whichever side we go on, well, maybe good or bad news, is that whatever side we go on, we're going to be there for a long time, right? This is why today and this year, the next 5 years is probably the most important time in the history of our species because of multiple technologies all converging at the same time in space. Some people think this is the utopia we're going to. This is not what we're going to, okay? And this is also not where we are going to. I will tell you the other 3 movies that are probably more likely scenarios of where we're going. Now, to start off, I actually want us to understand that most of us have some misunderstandings of where reality is in the space right now. And I think Mark Twain said something that is quite relevant. He said, it ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you think you know for sure that just ain't so. And unfortunately, there's so many things right now that people think they really know, but they don't. And we need to question that. We need to question what we think, and we need to question what is being told to you in the media and by, experts in different areas, including myself. So challenge me too. There's a debate on whether or not AI AGI is coming. It is coming. It's just a matter of when. But the thing to remember is that even if we don't have AGI, the economy will be broken, can be broken by the AI that we have today with the different scaffolding, with the AI agents and so forth. I will explain more. Everybody right now or the last few years have been talking about scaling is the key. We need to build giant data centers so that we can scale faster. And that's the key. First of all, it's not the key. And then second is that it's actually the problem. Okay. There is an AI bubble and AI is being commoditized. You can tell, and I'll give you more data on that. And the commoditization of this is going to end in a correction because there's no way you can spend trillions of dollars with tens of billions of revenue coming out of it and have that be sustainable. And there is no winner. There will be no winner in the AI race. There will be no winner in the lab race. Okay? There will be no winner in the geopolitical race around AI. The only way to win is actually to treat it as a public good that everybody shares. And the key is also not the building part. The key is how do we transition? When the AGI comes, how do we transition that into society in a safe, smooth, responsible way without collapsing the society, without collapsing the economy? So we have to do it together. We have to build it together versus building 100 versions of the same thing, spending 100 times what we should be on terms of infrastructure and energy and water and all these other issues. And then we have to share the benefits because right now the benefits are being accrued to a very small number of organizations. And AI plus robots, at some point robots, will likely take our jobs. And actually specifically the people probably in this room, our type of jobs, right? More white collar jobs, jobs that are in front of a screen. Those are the ones that will go first. But the thing I also want to emphasize is that jobs is actually not what you are meant to do. I will tell you more what I mean by that. And human and robots, you hear a lot of buzz about it. It's not coming anytime soon to your home. It may come to other places, but it's not going to be, you're not going to see Rosie the robot anytime soon. And social safety net is needed. It is needed and it is affordable. We just need to find the will to actually do it. Runaway AI, robots, armies are not what we should be afraid of. We need to be afraid of more the human side because that's where the real risk is. And lastly, the biggest threat to our future is not technology. The biggest threat to our future is our mindset, is how we think and how we are going to. Okay. So, oh, sorry. You guys are taking. Okay. Okay. So I know everybody, we can talk after because I'm going to go really fast. Okay. So get your cameras ready. Gen AI is what everybody talks about, but that's not the beginning and it's not the end of AI. I started this 35 years ago and we were doing good old fashioned AI. And actually I started in neural networks, doing natural language processing. And Gen AI is just part of the kind of natural artificial neural intelligence. And now we have agentic AI. We're going soon to sovereign AI, AGI. Okay. What is AGI? Anybody? Yes. Yeah. What does it mean? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So this is the problem. Everybody has a different definition. Okay. So, I'll give you kind of my simple definition. It may not actually be the academic definition, but it's, according to the computer scientist kind of idea that it's a recursive self-learning AI that, can do the job of a average human, right? And it can learn whatever job you give it. Okay. According to these different people, they're coming at different times, but all pretty much within the next 5 years is what people are saying. And whether or not we actually get to the recursive learning, the things that we have today are already very, very capable. Okay. And when we do get there, and if we do get there, there's a lot of good things that can happen. It's going to make us smarter, make us improve in understanding, improve our productivity, going to solve energy issues and climate issues and health issues and all those sci-fi things you hear about. Okay. But it can bring us in a world of abundance. It can also be a tool for global domination. And depending on which side of the fence you are on, you are looking forward to that for one of these things. Unfortunately, most of the people who are making decisions in government and in these labs are more focused on this than they are on that. And these things are getting smarter. It used to take, years to get it up to proficiency of humans. Now, essentially, all benchmarks that come out within months, they're saturated. Okay. And we're just finding new ways to prove that these things are getting smarter because they're getting to the top where you just don't see any difference anymore because they're already scoring 100 on all of the traditional tests. So everybody's racing to AI. Scaling laws is what everybody thinks. Bigger models, more training data, more compute brings you AI. Okay, last 7-8 years, that was probably true. Last 2 years, I actually want to introduce an idea called descaling loss. We're actually finding that by using inference compute, you don't need as much training. By getting better algorithms, better techniques, you can make them smaller. By doing distillation, you make them even smaller. In quantization, make them even smaller. And then you can use tools which then brings intelligence and consistency to these smaller models. So very soon, we're going to get the power that you used to have when these large, big data centers in tiny machines that are in your pocket. Okay. And the IQs, you can see they're already, 140, 150 IQ for the models that tested maybe 2 months ago. To give you a reference, that's 145 IQ is 3 standard deviations. That's 99.8% of people are less intelligent on this, according to an IQ test. Okay. So when we talk about the average human, this is already much higher on IQ than the average human. The key is they may not have the best data. They may not have the best instructions. So they are not using that. You can see also in terms of actual practical work, there used to be minutes of work. Now you're actually getting 4 or 5 hours of human equivalent work without human intervention. Okay. Very soon you're going to get to full days, and another probably few months or half a year, you'll get to a week of automatic data, automatic work, right? When that happens, the decision to hire somebody for $100,000, $200,000 a year or to spend $50 a month on an AI program, the decision would be very clear. Here's an example. So Janet Dogan is a Google senior engineer, and she said she spent an hour using Claude. She works at Google, but she's using Anthropic. Okay. And it solved the problem that their team, the team of 4 or 5 engineers, spent an entire year building. They did the equivalent of that with an AI agent in 1 hour. Okay. In Anthropic themselves, they built something called Claude Code Work. They built it in a week and a half with a small team using Claude Code. So it's AI building AI. And the guy said, somebody asked him, he said, how much of that was written by Claude Code? He says, all of it. Okay. And then just this week, the guy who runs a Cursor, he said they just used GPT 5.2 in Cursor, ran it for 1 week and built 3 million line code for a browser. Okay. There's only a few browser engines in the world right now that are working. 3 million lines, just to give you a context. An average developer writes 100 lines of bug-free code a day. So 3 million lines is a lot of human hours. Okay. And it says uninterrupted. That's what I want to emphasize. There's also no loyalty in models right now. This is Cursor. We just talked about Cursor. Cursor is one of the leading AI development tools. Every month, there's a new model that's being added. And it goes between different vendors. It goes, essentially, anytime something good comes, it comes up. Within a month, it comes down. Something else replaces it. There is no loyalty in AI models. Okay? Particularly for developers. For consumers, maybe a little bit more, just because it remembers you and it gives you a little bit more feedback. You can see also the mix of AI models are getting more and more. Just more models are taking more pieces, but there's no clear winner. Okay, so the idea that you can go and build a model that everybody will use forever is a myth. Now we get to the robot side, and I'm sure you've seen all those videos online that shows how these things are getting smarter and better, and they can dance and they can do all kinds of things. And they're mostly for entertainment, right? They're not doing any real work right now. Most of the ones that are being shown that are doing stuff in the home are teleoperated by some other person in some third world country over a VR headset. Okay. And China, if anybody's going to make these, it's going to be the Chinese, because the cheapest US model is $20,000, and it'll come in probably hundreds of units right now and maybe thousands of units next few years. China is already selling these for $6,000. Okay. again, they're just toys right now. They don't do anything real except for some program things that makes it look good on video. And it's the things that will actually affect jobs are these kind of robots, the ones, industrial robots, that are millions of these things are running in factories. This is a dark factory in China that is building hundreds of thousands of cars without humans. And it's dark because you don't need humans to do anything. Okay. You have, one of the biggest ports in the world, just robots, moving containers around. These are the kind of robots that are going to be affecting real work in the near term. Okay. I'm not saying humanoids won't be important, but the ones that are making the most news are not the ones that are going to really change the world in the near term. Now, we were talking about work, right? Over the last 150 years, essentially our work went from about 3,000 hours per year on average to somewhere around 1,500 to 2,000. Europe is probably closer to 1,500, US around 2,000. Okay. So, and one thing to remember though is when we were hunter-gatherers, we were actually working about 2 days, 2 to 3 hours a day. Okay, so we're actually working more now, a lot more than we used to when we didn't have the technology. But in general, technology is really why we've come down. The reason we went to this number was because of the Industrial Revolution. And if you look at a job replacement, horses went we went from horses to cars. It took 15 years to go through the midpoint from about 1900 to 1915. So here's an example. In New York City, from 1900, it was all horses and one car. And 13 years later, it was all cars and one horse. So what the prior chart showed was that it took 30 years to do the transition. But in certain places, it's not even, right? Places like New York and, for AI, it'll be the same. Okay. Oh, and the one thing I do want to emphasize is humans are not the drivers. Humans in this example are the horses. So here actually to go and dig into that a little bit deeper, looking at the efficiency of engines and when did horses get replaced by cars. Okay, this is the number of horses per person. It was kind of around even for a while, and this whole time engines got better and better and smaller. Only when it got to a certain point of efficiency did that thing drop. Right? When it got small enough, when it got cheap enough, when it got efficient enough. So we just need to see where that critical point is of transition. Okay. And same for intelligence. If you look at the chess engines, they went from 1,700 ELO to about 2,700 ELO, around, a little over 2,000. But you can see these are against grandmasters, right? So the red line is the grandmasters. And for a while they were, potentially winning everything against the robots. But as soon as you got to a certain critical point, it just dropped down a cliff. Okay. So intelligence is also not linear. Intelligence is something that if you're just a little bit smarter, there's no need for the lesser intelligent. Okay. If you look at what's happening today with these AI systems, this is the success task rate depending on how long you run it for. And when you're using an agent, when you're not using an agent, right? If you're just running it on a single call, these things can run for maybe an hour or 2 hours. If you put it into an agent framework, they're running for 5, 6, 7 hours and still getting 65% success rate. Okay. This is, just came out this week or last week on, from Anthropic. And from my lab at Stanford, one of the researchers recently came out with a paper called Canaries in the Coal Mine, and what it's showing, it's already being shown for young people. So these are the bottom line, the point of, it used to be everything was on the same curve. Everything was going up. But the point when ChatGPT came out was kind of the diverging point when all of a sudden, every single job, depending on how senior you are, it changed in terms of trajectory of new job opening. So job openings for junior people is affected. And then the longer you go, the more you see the middle people, the middle managers, they're all starting to come down. Okay. So if you can extend this in time, essentially all these jobs, all the junior jobs are going away, and then it just goes up that slope. Okay. And it also depends on whether the job is an unbounded job or a bounded job. If it's a bounded job, pretty much once it gets to a certain critical point, that job can be fully replaced. And so if you're a receptionist or something that, or you fill out forms or you review papers or something, it's a bounded job. You know exactly how to define that job. Those are just going away. It's just a matter of time, right? And this line was kind of 2024. We're probably around here right now. And as soon as you get to the point where you don't need to get to 100% of the capability, you actually just need to get to about 80% of the task. Those jobs will completely be replaced or reduced, right? So instead of having 5 people do a job, you might have 1 person do the job managing the AIs. You don't need to replace 100% of people when you can give them that kind of efficiency, right? When we see you put in one instruction to run for 6 hours or 7 hours, and 6 or 7 hours of machine time is, as we saw earlier with the browser example, it could be years of human time. So how is this going to play out, right? This is kind of depends on how do you think the replacement will happen. Will it be a gradual straight line that these things get smarter and smarter and more the task? That the bottom curve is how much of the task is still left that humans can do, that machines cannot, right? Or it could take, 20 years. This is saying it takes 20 years to get to kind of replacement. This thing saying 30 years, but straight line. This is saying 5 years is going down. And this is saying it takes 5 years to get to a certain point, and then we max out, and it takes a really long time to really replace. And and this is from Anton Kornick. He's one of the senior researchers that in this industry that talks about the economics of AI. And these charts essentially shows the red is where the return on capital, the green is the wages. And you can see, okay, now if these things just gradually go down and just a 2% every year, it would, the wages continue to go up because you still need the humans. What we're seeing is not. What we're seeing is this type of a drop. Okay. It's more like this type of drop. Now the question is it over 20 years? Is it over 5 years? Nobody knows for sure, but given the data I just showed you, I think it's, somewhere in between these two. Okay. Now, quick question. Do you think AGI is inflationary or deflationary? Who else? Inflation or deflation? Raise your hand if you think inflation. Okay. Raise your hand if you think deflation. Okay. So most people think it's deflationary. And for basic goods, it's deflationary. For discretionary goods, luxury goods, it's actually inflation. Because all of these things will get cheaper and cheaper. Food, energy, manufacturing, medicines, all of them will be automated, will be super cheap. Okay. But the things that are, unique places in the world, collector items, unique experiences, those things will go up because the money that you didn't spend here will start to move over that way. Okay. So it's both. And if you look at over the last, 20 years or so, this is America data, and it's similar to the rest of the world a little bit, but certain things have gone much higher, especially if you're in America, things that are not automatable. But the things that are automatable, cars and clothes and cell phones, they're just going straight down. They're getting cheaper and cheaper. Okay. But things that require humans are actually getting more expensive. Okay. I'm told to speed up. So what do I think the curve looks like? So you didn't think I was talking fast, and I'm going to talk even faster. It looks like this. It's going to be little dips and then a little, so it won't be a straight line, at least based on my estimation. But what's going to happen is that the prices are going to come down. So even though your production goes up, the amount of money actually comes down, and the prices for wages also come down, which means that to be able to afford it, you don't need as much as you think you do. Okay. So I'm going to just keep going. And the countries that are the red ones are the ones that are most exposed. So Europe, US, and East Asia, because they have the most amount of people who are in the white collar work. And this is the kind of curve, there's about half of the people that are over in the very exposed part. And then there's a big hump. This is why I said it's going to be little curves of replacement, not a single straight line or a quick, zero shot. Okay. So over the last 20,000 years, we've gone through a number of different cycles. I will actually probably skip this because it takes a little while to talk about. But essentially what this talks about is, time is the thing that is the only resource that is scarce. Okay. Over different periods, we had different scarcity. We're going to go back to that again because all of that will be out in. Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. 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 I'm going to go to the last slide. You guys can. Oh, so those are the 3 movies, by the way. Here. If you want more details, read my paper. It just came out in the Digilist papers on Stanford's website, and it gives a specific program. What do we need to do, right? All this stuff that's happening, what do we need to do? So this is a framework to solve that. And if you're individually, what do you need to think about? There you go. Okay. These are the slides that...
Thank you.